Right here, I've got a big old heavy piece of Cadillac pig iron. This goes to my 429 Cadillac, and I'm over at my buddy Bryce Mulvey's place, and he's gonna do my valve job. Now, it's not just an ordinary, like, rebuilder valve job. This is gonna take some skill, so I've got my skilled man right here to do what I want to do, and that's put a larger size intake and exhaust valve in it. Originally, it had a 187 intake and a 1.5 exhaust, but the way the machine work was done, the form in the bowl was completely blown out, so the flow would have been absolutely horrible. I did a bunch of porting inside here, basically just valve pocket and short turn, a little bit around the valve guide. I've got to put those bigger valves in. I've got my man Bryce, he's out back at the machine doing the first head. This is going to be the second one, and I'm going to take you back there and show you what he's doing. Or maybe he'll show you.
Dulcich, what's going on here?
Bryce!
You're throwing money on the ground.
Oh man, well,
is that
you
your
know,
dollars?
well, dude, you know, I'm Hollywood.
I mean, you just got
Yeah, that's
falling out here,
pocket,
got a
that's
holy
the-
pocket.
That's the tip
How
right
else
there.
are you going to be able to afford some granola bars, man? You better get that.
Well, I need the granola bars because I'm rocking the beanie. I forgot the Birkenstocks and all the rest of the outfit. Well, there's been a lot going on here. I mean, Bryce has set up the cutters to cut the valve seats, and he's trained me on some equipment here too.
So Dulcich's new career path is, hit the button. We got you dialed in
And
there.
watch this.
Yep, excellent job. It took him a while to get used to that delicate switch on the vacuum cleaner, but
Well,
you made it
no,
happen.
I thought it rocked forward and back, and I had a little difficulty. But Bryce, well, I don't know.
I mean, it's been too many years with you working the old shop vac.
Well,
I mean,
no, you know,
got to come back in the game.
When you get in the movie business, and you lose all your man skills. You know?
This is true. This is true. You're bringing it back, though.
But right now, you're getting me. You know, you've got me back in the water.
We're going to church you up here, Dulcich. So what we've done here is we've got some new Manley valves here, and we're going to go with the 19416. The reason we did the 194 is because of the spark plug notch in the seat, right?
Yeah,
There wasn't enough material to go all the way out to 202. It would have had that sharp edge. We would have to sink the valve job a whole bunch and would have been no good, right?
Yeah, it could have been done if we sunk the valve a whole bunch. But look, I mean, this is not a race head. The 429 Cadillac is not a race motor, even though you might think so, because 429.
Now, 429 is a magic number.
Yeah, but the thing is, the 429 Cadillac is glass. It can't rev because it'll blow up, and the heads are not that good.
I mean, when you're going to have the convertible top down and your hair blowing in the breeze, just cruising the highway, Dulcich.
I'm not looking for crazy horsepower. I'm just looking for more horsepower and better horsepower. And that's what we're going to get, because this is like probably 50 CFM off what it was originally.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do a valve job, you might as well cut a performance valve job in it. We can do a 5-angle seat. We can back cut the intake valves to help the low flow. It doesn't take any more effort to do a really, really good valve job over a super horrible one. It's just having the right tools and being able to know what you're doing. Make sure you take the valve all the way out to, or the seat all the way out to the valve size. All those normal rebuilder things that people miss out on when they go, you know, try to say, okay, I'm going to put 202 valves on, and the guy hits it with a stone and he's got a 202 seat at the 1940 throat, which doesn't make any more power.
Yeah,
so.
let me elaborate on that a little bit, because sometimes a guy will cut the seat and it'll seal, but they're undersized, and that's like more common than not. Like I would say probably 90% of the regular commercial work is undersized. So you get a 202 valve, but the major radius, which is the outside part of the seat angle, is not going to be 202, which it should be to match. It's going to be 1980 maybe, like 40 thousandths under. That's 20 thou per side, or even maybe a little more. So you may not be getting all the valve size that you're buying when you get a certain size valve.
And the big key is getting the valve to throat ratio right. So we want to make sure we're in that 90 percentile range. I mean, it's a quick average number is 200 thousandths smaller than your valve seat, or your valve size would be the right ratio, right at 89.5 to 90% under the valve size. That just makes the port really efficient at low lift flow. If you get the throat too big, like you talked about your sweet port job here where you opened it all the way up to the seat, it just makes the port real lazy. So
well, no, it'll blow it out.
I know, it will be no good down low. But the main thing about the valve angles turning every 15 degrees, 75, 65, 45, and a 30 top cut is it helps the air go around the valve. It turns the air around the valve. So
Which it has to.
That's what low flow is all about, man. And you're going to have that sweet 429 Cadillac rolling. You're not going to be making the RPM, so...
I don't want to make the RPM. Maybe I'll see 5,000. I've got a
But
little...
that's not like you. You'll definitely see 5,000, Dulcich. I know how you cold rev everything. You're going to be like,
No.
6,500, here we
I
go.
don't want to blow this thing up. But the thing is, I've got a little Isky cam for it. I can't remember the specs offhand. It might be like 216 or 218 at 50.
But just a little bit bigger than stock, right?
Well, I mean, the stock was probably 180 something.
True.
Yeah, so it's a big jump, even though it's
thunder.
not gigantic. And that's going to help it a lot. But one thing I want to elaborate on a little bit more is that throat diameter versus the valve seat major diameter. Now, these had inserts put in that basically had a 45, and then it went straight down. There was no other angle, so the throat was effectively, you know, almost 100%. It was completely blown out. The only way you're going to repair a problem like that, to give yourself some room to put some undercut angles and get a proper throat diameter, is going with a bigger valve. So that was like the first reason. The second reason is with a valve job like my man Bryce is putting in these heads, it's going to be like night and day.
They'll seal up good, make more cylinder pressure because the valve seats are sealing better. Your exhaust flow will be really good because you're going to put a radius cutter on the exhaust instead of a 45 or a sharp angle exhaust seat. So radius cutter helps get the exhaust gases out, because I'm assuming you're not going to have headers on this thing. It's going to just be
log manifold.
Log manifold. So
yeah.
Every little bit will help. So I mean, it's just trying to make it as efficient as possible and run the best, you know, when you're cruising down the highway.
And that's the thing about any engine. You can pretty much improve on any of these V8 engines. You can make them better if you use common sense modifications. You don't have to break the bank and like reinvent what the engine's intended for, but you can make it better, which is all I wanted, because if I can get 40 or 50 horsepower with a little cam and port working heads, why not just take that off the shelf and make the car a lot more enjoyable and fun to drive?
Yeah, if you're going to be burning the tire down with the one tire fire, you got to be sounding sweet too, right?
Yeah, probably is.
I know you're going to have the one tire fire. I know how you rock.
Yeah, well, that's a Cadillac. I remember watching all those mob movies. Have you ever saw them do a posse burnout?
No.
Yeah.
You could only make right-hand turns for the burnout.
Yeah, I saw, what was it, the Bronx Story, so I know what those things do.
Yeah, it'll be sweet.
All right, well, I've been tuned up on working the back. And,
yep, we're going to cut some exhaust seats here. We got everything sized up. I mean, it's looking pretty good. We got all the angles on the seats. The throat on the exhaust is coming in nice, so you can check that out there. It's going to be good.
And here's the thing. The 30 machine uses a profiled cutter on the cutting fixtures, which they're around somewhere. One's loaded in the machine.
No. Gosh, right here. They're gonna bite you. That's for the top cut.
Yeah, well, there's a cutting fixture, and this has got the angle built into it. This is a radius for the top cut, and
the other one's the intake cutter there.
This one?
Nope, the one with the pilot.
Oh,
there we go.
The one with the pipe on it right here is the intake cutter, and that's got the radius. I mean, it's got the whole valve job in it, top, bottom, and face angle. So it's one shot. Now you can't do that kind of a valve job with a stone. And the other thing that you're not going to do with the stone, which is the traditional way, old school way of doing valve seats, and a lot of people do it these days because you can buy that old stone equipment, you know, dirt cheap. You see them all the time, but you can't do the same kind of profiles or anywhere approaching it. And the other thing you can't do is have consistent heights.
Yep.
Like he can set up a stop on the 3100 machine. It's going to stop that machine cutter at exactly the same place on every valve. So you have consistency when you're setting up your valve train, your lash, or your preload. Everything's going to be, you know, on the money, and that's the way you want it.
You try to get the tip heights within 5 thousandths of each other. I mean, what's 5 thousandths among friends, Dulcich? I mean, come on, it's nothing. But if you have a big variation, then it affects your spring pressures, it affects your push rods, your rocker arm geometry, all that stuff. So that's why when we decided to go with the Chevy valves, well, they're within 10 thousandths of valve
stock
length of the stock length. So it'll make everything work out perfect and you won't have any issues. All right, we just got all the intake seats done. I got the exhaust seat size on the first one in the height set. So now I can go through, cut the other seats on the head and make sure they all come in nicely. We usually lap the valve job in after we cut it just to make sure we can see where the seat's at. On some of these older cast iron heads, it's really difficult because they've been repaired over time, years and years of repair. So it makes it difficult to get the valve heights accurate and that consistent 5,000ths like I was talking about earlier. So that's what we're doing right now. I'll button up the last three exhaust valve jobs here, and then we'll start on that other head and show you how it's done. A really hard exhaust seat here, you can hear it. These super hard exhaust seats, I get them roughed in, and then I come in here with the Windex to break the surface tension. I can slow the speed down and watch it come in to make sure we don't get any chatter. On these really, really hard exhaust seats, the chatter is the key. You can hear it really trying to chatter. So that's where age and experience come in place to make sure we don't get any chatter on the seat. And like I said, the stop's already set up, so all the valve heights will be consistent. The only thing that I'm watching for when I cut the valve job is to make sure the seat isn't sunk or really high protruding in the chamber. That way we can get everything real consistent as it comes through here.
We didn't quite start shooting till a little while after I got here, and you kind of missed the little bit of ribbing I got from Bryce on my port work here. He was like, "Oh, dude, what is this, amateur hour?" I'm like, "Come on, that's pretty good. It's a lot better than it was." But anyways, he goes, "Here, let me show you some real porting work." And he had like a set of small block Chevy circle track heads that were also iron heads, and I kind of gave it a quick eyeball, and I saw one wasn't quite done on one side, and I'm like, "Oh, well, Bryce, man, you kind of left a big ridge right in there." He's like, "Dulcich, they're not even done yet." But I'll show you what I did here real quick and tell you kind of the reason I even decided to port the head. Not that I was looking to make like a super rocket of a Cadillac, but there was just way too much power left on the table. But basically, you can see there's a 45-degree seat right here where the valve seals, and then the insert just went straight down, and that's just a completely wrong form for airflow. It's going to have a flow separation. It's not going to make the turn. It's called blowing out the bowls when you port it too big that way, but I didn't port it too big that way. It was already machined that way. So that gave me kind of a minimum size I had to go to. I had to blend that into the cast iron, which is below the seat. And I cut all that. I rolled it around the valve guide a little bit and worked a short turn. And these bowls, I mean, it's pretty undercut on this side, which means it's kind of like a concave shape. And on this side, it's kind of bulged out pretty bad in the bowl. So I cut this down as far as I dared so I wouldn't really make it too thin and break through. And this side blended it in as best as possible. And it's got to be improved a whole bunch. The exhaust port's exactly the same thing. Now you get that kind of undercut and bulge thing because there's water between the ports on the intake and exhaust on all these factory iron heads. So you got to be cautious on what you do. Most aluminum heads are solid right in there, so you don't have to worry about it that much. And when you're working with the stock head from an era where port design and airflow was not a super major consideration.
You mean you want me to port the head for you, Dulcich? Fix your issue?
No, Bryce doesn't have to port the head for me. I've already done all the porting now since I have ported it to a larger size than it was originally machined for as far as the valve diameter. The whole valve seat, the bottom cut, which is the throat cut, the seat, the top cut, all of that has to be corrected for the larger size. The larger size is going to make this like the right proportion to valve diameter, which is kind of a very critical aspect of getting airflow out of a set of cylinder heads. The other thing you'll notice is the way the insert's put in, there's a huge step into the cast iron chamber. where they were machined in, and that's a very abrupt kind of basically a wall all the way around. The valve's got to climb out of that hole up above this lip all the way around it before any air is going to be able to get up and around and into the chamber. So that's going to be machined with the top cut angle. That's going to be Bryce's part of the whole program. So I've basically built the foundation for the house without the blueprints, without the plans.
All right, here, Dulch, this one's done. You can be a professional porter and point out all the differences. I cleaned that one up so you can lay them out there and show the differences.
Oh, what did you clean up?
Well, I fixed your port work right there on the short turn. You had a lump, so I just want.
Thanks, Bryce.
I don't want you to have any issues.
What?
I mean, if you don't make that last 5 horsepower, I couldn't hold myself to that the rest of my life. I'd be like, Dulch missed it. He lost 5 horsepower.
What a pal.
So here, yeah, no, you can see the difference here.
Okay.
On this one right here.
I'll show it off to the fans, and I'll just give you this lump right here so you can make this one good too.
Yes. Here we go.
Yeah, he doesn't know his own strength. So I showed you a bunch of details on like modifications to cylinder heads, especially around the seat and bowl and stuff like that. And you might think, well, this is just tiny little things, but airflow is very sensitive to those tiny little things. Those tiny little things add up to a very, very big difference. Bryce and I collaborated on some Edelbrock heads that were modified quite a bit and compared to an out-of-box set that we tested on the Engine Master show. The engine, I think it was a 408 Mopar, picked up 100 horsepower. 100 from the same heads, just ported versus not ported. So there's a lot to be gained with knowledgeable porting. And I had a Bryce Mulvey valve job on those too.
And porting.
And some porting too.
Yeah, I had to fix your porting. Don't forget about the metal matrix.
I thought I had it pretty good.
Well, it was pretty good, but not great.
All right, maybe it wasn't Bryce good, but you know, I thought it was pretty good. But anyhow, 100 horsepower on a set of modified heads versus out of the box, which, you know, they're like a street performance heads, and we almost got race car performance, like a race head performance out of them. So I was pretty proud of the workmanship, and you know, that was proof of concept. We're not going to get that good with the Caddy heads, but we're going to make them a lot better. I'm trying to remember how I first met Bryce. Now, I know I met him through a mutual friend, Dr. Air Roger Helgeson, the late, great Dr. Air, and we were pretty tight. As a matter of fact, the guy mentored me a whole bunch, and he carried me through some really tough personal times too. So I've got nothing but admiration for the man as far as that part of it. And Bryce was a buddy of his, or an understudy that came a couple of years later, and I remember Bryce was like working with some kind of computer modeling cam profiles, and Roger brought me over to his place to check out his stuff, and I was like, oh man, that's not going to work.
It's all about the ratios and proportions, don't you know that?
Yeah, but anyway, we became great friends, and we worked together for years and years and stuff like that. He had a shop where we did a lot of stuff when I was editor of Engine Masters magazine, and basically just cooked the books on power output on all kinds of different motors. So that stuff was just incredible, the kind of work that he put out over there. And as a matter of fact, just out of sheer coincidence, right now I've got a block. I had to get it repaired, so it's over 20 years old as a running engine, and it's in the back of my Durango when I pulled up here because I had it sleeved and fixed and I hadn't unloaded it. So a little trip down memory lane of one of our projects from way back in the day. Was that the first time I met you?
No, the first time was at West Tech because you were trying to write that magazine article on the ported heads, and you wanted Roger had told you that I was porting a set of 906 heads and to bring them in to test there to see how much power we picked up on that engine. It's like a 440, like everything you used to do back then was a 440 with your PAW #1 cam. Or your Earson KX7 or whatever it was, or what was that other, the KV7, was that it?
No, that was the thing that Mr. Urson personally, oh no, that wasn't Urson. I'm thinking of Engel.
Engel, that's it.
Yeah,
it was Engel.
It was the KV3 X, you know.
Yeah, it was your favorite
Basically,
cam.
it was an experimental cam, and it was like 15 horsepower better than his best, and he was actually the best in Mopar flat tappets because he specially designed all his lobes for the big lifters. He had more lift and more effective duration and higher rate of lift. A lot of things you could do to take advantage of that extra big lifter in a Mopar engine. 903 versus an 827 in most GM products. There was a magazine that was very popular. It was Engine Masters. I was the editor. I did the job for 10 years as editor. And so I had a dyno test. The whole thing was about basically engine tech. So I was dyno testing all the time. And I'd guess it must have been, I don't know, probably nigh on 20 years ago when Bryce and I met, maybe a little less than that. But we just both loved high performance stuff. And, you know, I'm an egomaniac, I'll admit it. And so's Bryce, believe it or not.
Well, like I said, Dulcich, I'm a whore for the horsepower. So whatever it takes, that's what I loved working about Dulcich's. Man, we would spend hours at my shop late in the evening trying to fix some reman block to hone it, to dyno it that night. We just both had a great time working together. So I'm excited to be able to do some stuff here for you again.
Well, you know what it was, Bryce? Hey, it was nothing personal. I just went Hollywood on him.
You know, like you did.
Yeah,
you did go Hollywood, but that's all right.
I just got captivated and engaged and sucked in by the lifestyle, the lavish lifestyle of a Hollywood celebrity, you know. And, you know, I think Bryce is he's a pretty good guy, but I mean, how's he going to compete with that? I mean, he's only just a mortal. Well,
that's
maybe
true. That's true, Dulcich. You did go full Hollywood.
Well, yeah, now I'm the one crawling back, but anyhow, that's the way it goes. You know, sometimes you get knocked back, but you know what? You can just pick yourself right back up by the bootstraps, boy, and come back to your former glory.
All right, here we go.
I'll let you guys handle the machining part.
No, we need
stay for the jokes.
We need the peanut gallery over here.
Let me come over here. Then that way you can get the two-shot.
All right, Dulcich. This is
okay. Wait a minute. Like
we're going to redeem you from your last valve job.
I already got the vacuum cleaner lecture, the whole lesson, the
All right,
schooling.
Here we go. All right, here we go. We're going to teach you how to set up the Surrey cutter.
I've done it before.
How long ago was that?
25 years ago.
Okay. Well, it's like, you know, I'm sure you
riding
remember
a bike.
Yeah. It's just like riding a bike.
Oh, maybe I just need to get brushed up a little bit.
All right, so you know, you take in, basically this is a setup tool that goes right to the edge of the valve seat on the valve, the edge of the valve. I like to go right to the edge, and then you line up the point with the cutter, you know, the 5-angle cutter, the form tool. So can you see that is my question mark.
That's a little blurry, but
you got to go with your eye of the needle technique. Do you remember that?
I've got this thing.
Okay, yeah. Get your monocle out.
Oh my gosh, everything's become so much clearer.
All right, so we can see that now, right?
Yeah.
All right, so then we bring it over here to the pilot, which is the pilot is probably, this pilot is a 343.5, so it's a 1/2 thousandths oversized. So it fits your guides nicely. We don't have it locked up or anything.
That's important for the stability of the cutter. The pilot is what it rotates around. And
because the Surrey is a live pilot. It's not a dead pilot. So the pilot is actually turning in the guide as you're cutting the seat. So then we come over here. You can see the top cut, 45, 60, 75, and the 80 on the 82 on the bottom. So I always like that cutter. I think it works really, really good. So we drive this in, and you can see it's right at the top edge of the cut where the valve seat would be, the outside edge of the valve.
And that's how you ensure that the seat's going to match the diameter of the valve. And that's the kind of thing we were talking about earlier with undersized seats being cut. Because most shops...
It's a little extra time. They're out there trying to bang out jobs, keep their cash flow up, and we're just here having a great old time trying to make all the horsepower we can.
Yeah, and you might have a 1/600 valve and end up with a 1/550 seat. It's not that uncommon.
What I do is I get it close with the cutter, and then once I cut the first seat, I go through with the calipers and I bring it all the way out to the diameter of the valve. Some guys say that's too big. Some guys like to have it a little bit undersized, but I always go right to the edge of the valve, you know, and then on the titanium stuff, I actually make it a little bit bigger because the titanium grows at a greater rate than the aluminum or the seat. So as it tight, you can have the seat kind of grow into the valve size.
Oh, fine points.
So, I mean, that's how you make all the horsepower.
Oh, yeah. See, I haven't messed with the titanium because, you know, I do my poor boy stuff.
But yeah, so that'll be good. We'll get that set up here, and we'll have Dulcich cut the seat right here.
Oh, you want me to
We
drive
could be
it?
like Thelma and Louise, Dulcich. We'll make it happen.
Oh, man. I'm a little apprehensive of driving.
Don't worry. It's got a stop on it.
Do you
Just don't
think-
hammer it down. All right, so put a little lube up on the pilot.
Lubricante?
Yes.
Por favor, señor.
All right. This is sideways. This is the wobble. So the head.
That's the
You
exhaust
want me to
cutter?
drive? You want me to drive it over? Or you want to drive it over?
I don't want to break the pilot.
Ooh, that's good. Good call. Good call. The
break-
carbide is expensive.
And they're
You-
very brittle.
yes,
like if
yes.
you drive it over and you hit the curb a little bit with your
Oh.
big rims, and you're not going to just get some guy at you know, downtown LA to hammer them back out for you. That
All right.
carbide can't be fixed.
All right, so we go through and we can make sure that it's locked in place. So what's neat about the 30 is it has a floating head so that it perfectly aligns itself with the guide. So the guide and pilot are level and in line with each other, not tilted or crooked, because if you do that, then you'll like cut the valve job crooked and dig a hole on one side. So
Oh yeah, did you reset the
I
stop?
reset the stop. So full speed ahead,
Oh yeah, okay.
nice and easy. Emergency stop button forward.
The green button is to start.
Just hit the switch that way. All right, I'm going to stand back and watch this.
This way?
Yes. Okay, nice and easy, Dulcich. You're a little shaky. Oh my gosh, that's too fast, too fast. Nice and easy.
Oh, wait.
Oh, you're already cutting and you weren't even watching. What the heck?
I
This is what
didn't-
happened last time and you totally screwed the pooch.
I didn't know
All
it was
right,
down.
right there. Oh, there you go. You got it. Nice and easy.
I didn't know it was that
Okay,
far
it's
down
coming in.
already.
It's coming in. Coming in. There it is.
Now, this seat's not that hard.
No, this is the intake seat. I don't want you to cut the exhaust. That's the one you get all messed up. All right, you got a ways to go. Remember, we're sinking it past the little spark plug notch. There it is. Oh, okay. Are you on the stop?
Didn't feel it hit.
Okay, come on down.
Coming down.
Okay, you're getting a little chatter, Dulcich. You're making me nervous. Let's see where we're at. Drive it to the bottom and we'll check the stop. We're a little ways away, but let's. It is. That's where, cause see, it's right there.
Yeah,
So-
you need to reset the stop for
I
right
set
there.
it close. I should have probably done the first one. That way it would have made you look like a hero, Dulcich. Sorry.
So he kind of sabotaged my effort a little
No,
bit.
I
He
didn't.
didn't have the
A
stop
skilled-
set properly.
A skilled operator would have
Yeah,
known,
and
Dulcich.
you were filming that one. But you notice I did stop, I think, at about the right time. So
You did. You were perfecto.
Oh, well, thank you, Bryce. That's a high compliment coming from my man here.
All right, let's get this dialed in here, and then we'll lap it in and check the height. Oh, I hear it coming in now.
Oh, that was only like 1,000 or so.
10 thousandths. Don't need to go down a little bit
Get
more.
out of here, 10,000s.
All right, to the vacuum cleaner.
Oh, here's where I shine.
Yeah, make it happen.
I'm ready to go.
All right, there we go. Let's check this out.
Oh, it's like a trip to Valhalla.
All right, let's see what we got here. I can see it's right there. I think we're pretty close. It's a good guess, Dulcich. I saved
Okay.
you. I saved you from yourself just
Thanks,
in time.
bro.
Would you like to do the lapping, Dulcich? Would you like to drive
yeah.
the lapping gun?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Get your finger in the magic clover.
Oh, you don't have a little brush?
No.
Oh, that's so messy, though.
I mean, all right, there you go. Nice.
Now, this is some really good compound. If you go to the auto parts store and you get valve lapping compound, it's like water, solvent-based, grease mix.
All right, here you go.
Compound's really, oh,
Send her home
I can do
with the
that.
Milwaukee. Let's see how you make it happen.
I can do this. I've done this before.
Whoa, whoa.
Now you
Jeez,
gotta
center that
center-
up.
Center that up.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. It's good finger control. I like that.
Yeah, I've taught Freiberger that it's not an on and off switch.
All right, let's see there. Oh, look at that, Dulcich. That's looking pretty nice. It looks like it's far enough below the insert like we were worried about there. You can see where they put the seat in, where the spark plug comes through here, and we're trying to get the valve where it runs right below the edge of the insert there. You can kind of see where it's cut out, but the valve seat comes, what does that look like? Maybe 30 thousandths below the notch, Dulcich, if I had to guess?
You don't want that notch to take a bite out of the actual seat.
And if it was running up there, it'd create a hot spot, and then it would degrade the seat, and then you'd lose your valve seal.
Okay, now we find out how good of a job I did with the lapping.
Oh, Dulcich, sounds pretty good.
If you were really good, you would have caught it in midair while you.
I can do that. I can do carnival tricks.
Really?
Oh, no. Oh, come on, here we go. Give me one more chance.
Like it's...
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, we're just going to show the second cut. We're not going to show the first part. You're going to look like a
Make sure
boss.
it's in slow motion. I got it.
Wow, you're like a pro.
So that looks perfect. I think our heights are good. Now we can go through and cut all the rest of the intake seats and see how well you did on your bowl blending.
Okay.
All right.
Wow, that sure does look good, Bryce.
That's amazing, the difference between the two, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Well, right now what I'm doing is just these exhaust inserts that somebody had put in these Cadillac heads long ago are extremely hard. So you can cut a hard insert at high speed, but it tends to chatter. So as I get closer to the stop where we're looking for that correct valve height, I bring the speed down and I use a little Windex to break the surface tension, and you can hear the cut. If it's nice and smooth, you know you're not chattering. You could hear this thing whistle and grind and really take some chunks out. And obviously if you have a chattered valve seat, your valve isn't going to seal properly on it. So just trying to make sure everything is coming in real nice. And it's all about feel. I mean, there's the 30 is an old seat and guide machine. This one's from 1994, so it's practically ancient nowadays times, you know. There's a lot newer valve seats out there, but what's nice about the 30 was the first machine to have a floating head and a really good clamp. So it'll do a great valve job. It just takes a little bit more experienced operator to do it. You know, you can't just push the button and set it and forget it. You got to like really know listen to what's going on, have a really good feel. I mean, you could jack a set of heads up real fast if you just closed your eyes and went to town, but you know, it just takes a little time and a little effort to have the feel for it. You know, it's like, you know, I could have Dulcich over here, but he still wants to use these heads. The last time he did a valve job, he sunk it like crazy. So,
well, no,
so you got to stand in the background here.
I don't remember that at all.
I remember it perfectly.
Oh, look, let me just change the topic while he's over there working that 30 machine, which is a little outdated and pretty simple to operate. I got tuned up on this baby right here. That's going to be my job, and I had a hard time because I kept trying to turn it on, and it's got a switch there, but I thought it went forward and back, and then Bryce.
I mean, I figured you usually had a PA to do that for you in your movie star days.
Well, that's this thing. Now I'm unemployed. This is my new place in the world. Is the vacuum cleaner. And
nicely done. It's a hair trigger, Dulcich. You got right on it. It was nice. All right, we're almost there. I got one more. Then you push the button and we'll vacuum away here.
Now that was for demonstration purposes only. You know, I mean. Wow, you can really hear that chatter.
It's not chattering. It's super hard.
I know, it's deafening.
Slow her down now, and we'll get it nice and easy here. It's a hard seat for sure.
Wow, what a bunch of fun being back in the shop with Bryce.
There it is, Dulcich. You hear it change?
Oh, yeah.
All right, that one's ready to rock.
Nice.
Ready? Man the vacuum cleaner. Here we go.
I was a little slow on the trigger.
All right, make it happen. Here we go.
You know, he's vacuuming, but just for fun, you can get a little bit of a feel of the airflow pulling through that port. And, man, that's laminar flow right there. Not quite, but it's not bad at all.
That's nice, considering you could still roll it a little bit, but...
Yeah.
Nope.
Dude. Yeah, these are going to kick butt. Are you kidding me?
fix Dulcich's porting work for him here.
What part are you getting?
I fixed the seat and your short turn.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
You weren't done, right? You weren't done with the short turn yet?
well, I was. That was as far as I was going to go. I wasn't going for Bryce perfection. I was just going for Dulcich pretty good. See, Bryce just can't help himself. I mean, it's actually, in my opinion, pretty good, but he saw a little bit of room for improvement. I think they're pretty good, Bryce.
I think they'll work out great.
Yeah, they're going to be awesome.
Yep.
Okay, I've got the finished product right here. I'm overjoyed with the way Bryce got these things reworked as far as the seat and the little touch-ups they did. And as a final step, he went in with the carbide and hand blended a little bit more where that big wall was. And so basically going for Bryce level, super good work. And this is going to perform really well. Unfortunately, we didn't flow them, okay? I mean, everybody wants to flow numbers. Hey, give me the numbers. But in my estimation, I would be surprised if these flowed much over 120 CFM on the intake port the way they were. And that's a really, really low number. I would expect, this may seem like a stretch, but it's not. I would expect this to be 50 CFM better than the way it was before, which can translate to a ton of horsepower. Well, the rule of thumb is 2 horsepower per CFM with a full-on race kind of engine. This obviously is not going to be a full-on race engine. Maybe 1 horsepower per CFM, that's 50 horsepower. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they were really, really that bad. So I thought we were going to walk away with no flow numbers. Bryce just wanted to flow it. He's got a flow bench right here, a Superflow 600 with the flow comm.
No flow comm, just an old style one.
Okay, with the manometers, and we will get some numbers here in mere moments.
Oh, here we go, big numbers.
Okay, Bryce, let's bench race this.
All right.
So, what do you think this head flowed with that straight down insert and all that stuff in like unmodified form?
I mean, if it flowed 150 CFM, maybe 160, but who knows? We'll never know, will we?
No.
So, I mean, it's got a pretty good shape for it. It's just tight at the pinch. I mean,
yeah.
Most stock heads flow in the 165 to 170 range, so.
What is a Chevy 194 valve?
Right at 195. On a good one, a 47X flows 200.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean.
47X.
Yeah, so that's a good head, but if we modify it and it flows anything over 200, it's a win.
Well, I'd be shocked if it flows that much.
Or what do you think it's going to flow?
I think stock is probably like 130 or 140 the way it was, all jacked up with that really messed up.
So you're hoping
insert.
for 185?
Well, I was saying, you know, we're probably, 50 CFM better than what we started with. We don't know. Let's at least.
I mean, after I fixed your port, I'm pretty confident that it might go 200. Maybe like, I'm going to say 205.
I would have been at like 199.
So you're going to go under 200 and I'll go over 200.
Well, no, after you fixed it, I'm going to buy in on your 205. Who am I to question?
All right, let's see what happens.
So really, when you get down to it, we don't have the before numbers, but the only thing that matters is going to be the after numbers anyway.
Ready?
Yeah.
Whoa. We're sealed up. Want to make sure. We got to get that other clamp. It's leaking on the back side. Let me go get that other clamp. There's 100. Better go down the full range. I'm watching the manometer over there. It's stable. Oh, we're getting to the end of our range here. Oh, big ballin'. All she wrote. So it's done at 400 lifts, but it hasn't stalled. Look at that. I'm okay with that. Backing up a little bit. All right. What number? We'll get my calculator here. That's the internet calling.
Oh.
They want to know what our numbers are. I mean, they heard it was a Cadillac 429 head, Dulcich. They're like, oh, they want to know right away.
I don't know if you should give it up.
I know. Okay, let's see here. What do you want to start with? Do you want the big number?
Well, let's just go right for this number.
72. So 72% of the number 4 orifice. What do you think?
205. 215. Okay. That's not bad. You're exceeded your expectation.
It definitely is a real over 200 CFM head. I mean,
that's way
400
better.
horsepower right there, Dulcich. Well, let's go with the low lift numbers because the 300 number.
The 300 number is important to me.
Yes, that's where you know how good your valve job is. So 299 times 0.65. 194.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, it's good down low. It's just so tiny.
Now that's huge. That's kind of a mid-lift range, 300, but it's a good datum point for me because like a good iron ported head, like a 440 head, if you get 200 at 300.
I mean, it goes 157 at 200.
Wow.
I mean, it's good. It's off the seat. It's good. It's just the port's so restrictive and tiny.
Yeah, and we didn't really work the whole runner, but I mean, that's way more than I was expecting or needed out of it. I was thinking 170, 180 probably.
200. It's a solid 200. We'll just call it that.
Okay, pretty good for an old 429.
All in all, I think the heads perform well. The low lift numbers are good, so everything is going to be everything you wanted it to do and more, I think.
No, that was just a completely useless lump of cast iron the way it was with those inserts and small valves and stuff like that. Now it's kind of like a small block Chevy head, performance-wise, like a 194.
I mean, I squinted my eyes and I thought I was looking at a small block Chevy head.
Yeah, it almost had me fooled too.
That's what I'm saying. It's unbelievable.
I
Just
know.
don't look at the exhaust ports.
Yeah. So anyhow, Bryce, I got to thank you a lot, man.
I know. It's always good to hang out, bro.
What a bro hug.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you're smelling so nice.
Yeah.
I almost got lost in your hairdo there for a second.
I did all the cleanup and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it was a big day out for me.
Oh, I know. You came down the hill to,
yeah,
the other side of the mountain.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long trip, but it was definitely worth it to catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm going to be seeing a lot more of you now.
I can't wait.
Since you're moving out of here and getting into a new shop.
Hopefully have a little bit more space to work on our own race cars.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah, with my son racing and stuff like that, we just need some more space to work on the
Where
cars.
do people find you? On Instagram, you're the real...
I am just incognito, Dulcich.
You used to be the real beef supreme.
I'm the skunk works guy. I mean, you want to be rich and famous. I just want to be rich. I could live without the fame. I just love doing this type of work. I think that's the one thing that over all the years we've worked together is that through all of our ups and downs, crazy things happen, and that we've all helped each other through.
Yeah.
We've always had a love of building engines, making horsepower, working on the stuff. And at the end of the day, this is just a fun hobby for me. I like to do it. I do get to work in the industry, so it makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah, and think about that, man. Like 20 years, still bros.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what it's all about when it comes to working with your pals, hot rodding, modifying stuff, and if you keep it up long enough, you're going to be as good as me and my pal Bryce Mulvey right here.
I'm hoping one day I'm as good as you, Dulcich. I keep trying every day.
Yeah. All right, I got this done with my buddy Bryce, and next thing I've got to do is hit the road and get this thing back together.